Hello concert band, and welcome to another week of home learning. Now, we're going to still use the same warm-up that we've used the last couple of weeks, because the idea behind a warm-up is for you to get your muscles ready to play and without doing any damage. And just like an athlete, before they run track or play football, they stretch, they work out, they get loosened up, and they get ready, and they get more out of their practice. The same thing works for us. The more warm-up we do and the more ready we are to perform when we play our exercises, the better we will do. So we're going to continue with the same warm-up. This week we're not going to do any of the Dixon book, just the warm-up, and we're going to spend more time in our traditions book because we're learning a new concept this week. For right now, we're going to be looking at fundamentals for band. So go ahead and get that up. I'll give you just a second. You can find it. You can pause the video, and when you've got it, you can come back. Okay, we're going to look at, find your page, and we're looking at number 2, long tones. On long tones, I'm going to set my metronome at 80 beats per minute, and we're going to hold these notes full value and play through line 2. So you can do that with me. I'll count you off. 1, 2, 3. Now we can repeat that exercise a couple of times. Just rest for a few seconds between to let the blood get back in your lips, and then play it again. For now, I'm moving on to number 3.01, articulation. I want you to listen to me play this one time and count with me. Then the second time I want you to play with me. Okay, fingering count with me this time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now you're going to play with me this time. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so you can do that a couple of times until you get that even. If you have a metronome at home, you should be able to get one on your phone if you don't have one, and you can practice these without the video as well as with them. So now we're going to move on to 302, where we have 16th notes. We'll count this pattern: 1 E and a 2, 3 E and a 4, 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and 4. I'll play it this time. I want you to finger with them and count out loud while I'm playing. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. We can do that again. Now this time, I want you to play with me. So we're going to get your horns ready to play. 1, 2, 3. Alright, you can repeat that as many times as you would like. Now looking at number 4, flexibility, the notes are going to be a little different in this for some instruments. You're going to hear me go lower when your notes are going higher, but your notes will still fit with what I'm playing. So we're going to start out by playing this tonguing every note, but keeping it smooth and connected. There is a repeat at the end, so after a 2-measure break to let your lips recover, then go back and play the second time. So the first time, let's play this and tongue each measure. Here we go. Everyone playing together. 1, 2, 3. Now this time we're going to slur it through. Ready? Now, you'll need to go through that as many times as you need to get that even where you can slur each note in the brass, where you can make those slurs without having to use your tongue. And woodwinds to where your fingers are lining up and everything's coming out nice and smooth. Okay, now let's look at number 5.01, the 6-note scale in B flat. I'm going to set my metronome at 90 beats a minute. The first time we go through this, I want you to finger and say the note names with me. So let's do this one time through with you fingering and saying the note names. The first thing you always look at on this is the key signature. Here we go. Finger and say the names. 1, 2. Okay, now the next time we do this, I want you to play along with me. Notice that I made it all the way through that on one breath. So you should be able to do the same thing. I'm going to slow it down a little bit so that you can get more of the notes. Then we'll come back later and play this again, and you can pick up the tempo. So we're going to set it at 80 beats a minute and play through it together. Then you can come back later and play through with my first tempo, or practice it with your metronome. Here we go. Play with me. 1, 2. Okay, now let's look at number 5.02, the 6-note scale in E flat. I'll raise that back up to 90, so that way I'll be able to go through it on one full breath. Finger along, say the note names, look at the key signature first. Here we go. 502, 6-note scale in E flat. 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, I'm going to slow it back down. I want you to play with me this time. Once again, once you've done it at a slower speed, take your metronome, pick up the tempo. Here we go. 3, 4, 1, 2. Sorry about that, started on the wrong one. But you can hear it and play back through that without me. Okay. Now let's look in your Tradition of Excellence book on page 15 at rhythm time. In the top of the page, it shows us 16th notes. So we've had quarter notes, we've had eighth notes, but 16th notes is something new to you. So in that blue box at the top on the right where it says counting and conducting, it shows you how we count these 16th notes. It also shows how the 16th notes make up, 4 16th notes make up a beat, and 2 eighth notes make up a beat, and 1 quarter note makes up a beat. And it breaks it all the way down to a whole note. So the 16th notes are counted 1 E and A. So we want to say 1 E and A. So let's look at that top of that blue box where we have four sets of 16th notes. And let's count that 4 sets of 16ths together. You can look at the counting line and that helps you. Here we go. Ready? Now, 1 E and A, 2 E and A, 3 E and A, 4 E and A. Notice the beat 1, 2, 3, 4 is still there. Now we've divided that beat into 4 equal parts. So let's look at number 68. The instructions for number 68 says to write the counting and clap the rhythm before playing. So I'm going to go through and count this for you, and then I want you to write the counting in underneath line 68 in your book, and then we'll clap and count it together. So let's look at it. I'm going to count it one measure at a time. Look at the first measure. We have 1, 2, and 3 E and A, 4. And if you'll use a plus for the and, it makes it easier than trying to draw that ampersand sign. Look at the second measure. 1 and 2 E and A, 3 and 4. Then the third measure is the same as the first measure. And the last measure, 1 E and A, 2 and 3-4. So go ahead and write that counting in under those notes, pause the video, and once you're done, come back and we'll clap and count together. Here we go. Now, let's clap and count number 68. Do this together. 1, 2, ready, begin. 1, 2, and 3 E and A, 4. 1 and 2 E and A, 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 E and A, 4. 1 E and A, 2 and 3 whole 4. Now, that's how we count through that. Now it tells you to play that using the note concert D. So let's go ahead and finger that note on our instrument, and then we're going to play through that line using the note that's given. Here we go. Playing this time. 1, 2, and ready now. Now you can rewind the video and play and listen to that as many times as you need to, and you can play along. You can set a metronome and practice that line with the metronome until we have that nice and smooth. Once it's smooth, then we can move on to the next line. Now look at line number 69, a royal fanfare. This was designed to be played in a round, but that's kind of difficult to do when we're not together. So we're going to ignore the circle 1 and circle 2 over that for now. Maybe when we get back together in class, then we can do it that way. So let's look at this. This is the same counting that we just practiced up in number 68. So let's finger and count with me. Look at your key signature first. C instruments, you have B flats and E flats. Finger B flat, finger E flat, and finger an A natural. For B flat instruments, you have nothing in your key. We want to make sure we finger B natural. Saxophones, you have F sharp. So make sure we're using that middle finger for F sharp. Let's finger and count this together first. Ready? Here we go. Fingering and counting. Ready? Begin. 1, 2, and 3 and a 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and a 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and a 4. 1 and 2 and a 3 and 4. 1, 2 and 3 and a 4. 1 E and a 2 and 3 whole 4. And some of you have divided notes at the end. You can take one, you can play either one you want. It doesn't matter. I'm going to play the top notes for now. And if you want to go back and play the bottom notes later, that's fine. So now let's play number 69 together. Ready? Here we go. Horns are up. Make sure we check that key signature. 1, 2, ready, begin. Okay, now you can rewind that back and go over that as many times as you need to get that where you're really comfortable with those 16th notes and they're falling together. Also play that with a metronome. You can set your metronome to click 8th notes and that'll click every other 16th note. It helps helps you to make it more even. Let's now take a look at number 70. This is a march by the American composer John Philip Sousa. John Philip Sousa was best known for writing his marches. He's known as the March King. Probably his most famous march is the Stars and Stripes Forever, which I know we're all familiar with. It's our national march. This is called the Thunderer. The first thing we have to look at before we play anything is the key signature. So, C instruments, let's look at our key and let's finger through it. You have a B flat, so finger B flat, your E's are natural and your A's are natural. So let's finger those together. B flat instruments, you have an F sharp, so let's make sure we're using F sharps, and if we have F sharp, we have to have a B natural. Saxes, you have F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So let's make sure we're using all those fingers. Finger that F sharp, C sharp, look mom no hands, and G sharp with that left pinky. The first thing we want to do is finger and count through this. So we're noticing that we're in 2/4 time and that we have one note at the beginning. So that anacrusis or pickup note starts on count 2. So finger and count with me. Here we go. Fingering and counting. Ready? And 1, 2, 1, hold 2, 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, 2 E and a 1, 2 E and a 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1. 2, 1, hold 2, 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, 2 E and a 1, 2 E and a 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, repeat, 2, second note, hold 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, 2 E and a 1, 2 E and a 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, 2, 1, hold 2, 1, 2, 1, hold 2, hold 1, 2 E and a 1, 2 E and a 1, 2, second ending now, 2. Alright, now, let's look through this real quick. We'll notice that the pickup note and the first 4 measures is the same as the pickup and the first 4 measures on the second line. So just getting those 4 measures in a pickup, you've already learned over half of the song. So let's go through that real quick. Let's look at the pickup note and the first 4 measures plus 1 note. So finger with me, ready? And 1. Now, once we've done that, we have that repeated again down on the second line. That's most of the song. So we'll practice this in little spots and little pieces like that. It'll make this so much easier to learn. So this time I'm going to play all the way through the piece. I want you to finger and count with me. Here we go. Playing through from the beginning. Ready? And 1. Now, you can rewind that and go back and play that along with me this time. And do that until you have it even. We want to think of those 16th notes. Dee-dee-dee-dee-da, dee-dee-dee-dee-da, dee-dee-dee-dee-da. Let that tongue bounce on the air so we don't bog down trying to over-articulate them. Now let's take a look at number 71. Number 71, The Battle of Pavane, was written by Thielman Sasato, who was a Belgian composer. It was, at that time, was called Flemish because it was Flanders. It's now, that area of the world is now Belgium. He lived around 1500 to around 1562. And this was very ceremonial music. This was the music of the Renaissance period. It was mostly dance music, and this would have, the Battle of Pavane, a Pavane is a dance. So it would have been a dance. And then there's a really cool band arrangement of this where we have battling snare drums and battling cymbals, where there's one on each side of the stage and they battle back and forth throughout the piece. And hence the name The Battle of Pavane, because it's kind of an echoing thing. First we're going to count through this and finger. Have to look at that key signature. So B flat, I'm sorry, C instruments, let's finger and count. Finger and say the key signature. We have B flats, E flats, and A flats. B flat instruments, we have B flat, first valve, first finger. Saxophones, everything is natural. We have to use that first finger F, not the middle finger F sharps as we go through this. So let's finger and count the top notes. Ready? Finger and count the top notes. 1, 2, finger and count with me. 1, hold 2, 3, hold 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1, hold 2, 3 E and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, and then we just hold that and off. Alright? Now let's finger and count. Well, let's finger and count while I play it this time. Finger and counting the top notes while I play. 1, 2, here we go. Now. Now you can rewind the video and play along with me on the top notes. Now let's finger and count the bottom notes. The counting's the same, the notes just are a little different. So let's finger and count the bottom notes. Ready? And now. 1, hold 2, 3, hold 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1, hold 2, 3 E and a 4, and 1 E and a 2, and 3 E and a 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. Alright, now, I'll play it, finger along and count with me, and then you can play along with me. Here we go. Fingering and counting, bottom notes. 2, here we go, now. rewind the video back and play along with that recording. Now, you can also, this is a duet, so you can play the bottom part while I'm playing the top part, and then play the top part while I'm playing the bottom part, and practice that as a duet. Now let's take a look at number 72, Skill Builder. This is your test for this week. This test will be on Flipgrid. I will make the test active on Wednesday at 3 o'clock. So you won't be able to do the test before 3 o'clock on Wednesday. It can only be done after 3 o'clock on Wednesday or on Thursday and Friday. So I want you to practice the rest of the material before you do the test. So let's look at 72. First thing we have to look at is the key signature. For C instruments, we have, say and finger with me, we have B flats, E flats, A flats, and D flats. For B flat instruments, we have B flats and E flats. Finger those with me, B flat and E flat. For saxophones, you have a B flat, 1-2 side key. So make sure we're fingering the notes correctly. First, we're going to finger and say the counts. So let's finger and say the counts on this. Here we go. 1, 2, and finger say the counts. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3, rest. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1 E and a 2, and... Alright, now, we got to make sure we're in the right key signature. So I'm going to play it this time, and while I'm playing it, I want you to say the note names. Finger it and say the note names. Here we go. 1, 2, finger say, now. So we want to work on that until we have it nice and even, and then you can take your test. Let's play it together one time before we do that. Since this is your test, I'm going to play it one more time. I want you to play with me. Here we go. Horns are up. 1, 2, here we go. Now. Alright, so that's your test for this week. It is Flipgrid. It has to be done by 3:30 on Friday. The grid will not become available until 3 o'clock on Wednesday. Just as in last week's test, I offered you some extra credit. And for this week, we're going to do the same thing. If you will tell me the name of the team that you see on this glass, I'll add 5 points to your score. But you have to tell me the name of the team at the beginning of your Flipgrid video. Have a great week.